season with England for the sake of a couple more international caps, or do I want to try and get that deal that gets me an extra 2 years playing?
And the significant thing is, and this is one of the main reasons I had a problem with him being in the EPS, to be honest, because his performances for England last year were good enough. I mean, he was great in the Samoa friendly. He had one really good game in the World Cup and no bad games in the World Cup. But he's come back into things this season and not been good. He's been injury prone with with the concussion situation with him, and
Yeah,
now. And like you said, I kind of thought he was a little bit older than 33, but still, either way, I think he's got to think about the right sort of things for himself, and getting himself focused on club rugby league is probably a better thing for him at this stage than even thinking that far in ahead about international games. Given that, I mean, he might not even be fit. Does he want to be putting himself through extra games, giving himself the risk of extra head knocks? I would
and
say it's a
I
sensible
wonder
thing
as
to do when he
well,
gets to retire
is it the
with at
travel to
least some
Denver as
fond
well?
memories.
Is the prospect of travelling, to Denver in a week, doing all that test, is that, and the talk about it being, at altitude where it's potentially going to cause problems for some players, has he thought, I'm not sure I fancy that? Because that could have come
That's
into his thinking as well.
that's a good question. I think actually, yeah. And it gives him a time off in the middle of the season, which he could do well with. And I think his best years domestically was when he was in between his two sort of spells of England. When he was at Widnes,
Yeah,
was his best years domestically as a halfback. I would think. Anyway, I mean, he gets to retire from England having been in a positive position with England, which is completely converse to how he is going on club level these days. So that's good for him, and I think he's made the right decision.
yeah, and I don't. And the good thing is, it's not like previous retirements from international rugby where there's not been people you could look at behind him going, okay, they could do a job, they could do as good, if not better, a job. There's a fair old competition in there, and if you look down at the night squad as well,
Yeah.
I think there's some players that are going to come up certainly in 4 years' time. It's going to be a very different picture.
Well, my second blog that I discussed was about the squad selection, and within that squad there were four halfbacks picked, four primary halfbacks, and then a few other players who could play at halfback and probably will get selected to play ahead of some of these youngsters. But they're all younger, inexperienced players. Or Chris Atkins got a lot of experience at the lower level, but not at Super
Yeah,
League level. He's 25, and he's the oldest of the four halfbacks in the squad. Tom Gilmore's a little bit younger, very inexperienced because of injuries mostly affecting his career. And then you've got the younger end of things with Patton and Richardson. Now, those is Patton in there? No, he's
I'm
not.
not sure he
No, he's
is.
not. It's Richardson and someone else. Who's the other halfback?
Oh,
I
I have
only
to look
wrote
this up
about
now.
this on Sunday. Anyway, younger players um, who gonna need that sort of competition in the nights to progress their games. It's something because we don't have Origin, we don't have like the layers below Origin going up where you're getting rep
Yeah,
exposure. This is a way to get rep exposure to kids like that, um, and so they will be ready for the next World Cup, like you say.
here we go. I've just got the night squad up. We can.
I've not got no fill. I've got no filler.
Man looks something up on phone. So you got Richardson. I know I can't find another one.
Right. Well, I've written it on the
There we
blog,
go. That was good.
so it's on
So
the. So I'll find
go
it
check the blog out.
super quick.
I
And
should read that because I haven't read that one yet. I read the love letter, but I didn't read this one.
well, yeah, it was a romantic feeling there. So we have Truman as well, young Jacob Truman.
Ah, there we
Yeah,
go. Yeah,
who's
that's because
again very young, very inexperienced. In fact, of all the players selected, he's had the least games professionally and the least games at Super League level. So there you go. Two talents there in Richardson and Truman that, like we say, will be expected to be competing next time around. And then you've got Williams is young. There's of the other guys kicking around like Lilly. that we've already spoken about. There's Atkin, who'll be in a good space in his career at the next World Cup.
And there could well be someone who isn't in that squad at the moment, who could be playing somewhere else, who could
Well,
be in a lower division.
Mark Snides, not an old player,
No,
so he'll still be around at that time, and Luke Gale will be about 33-ish at the next World Cup, so still, you know,
he'll be
the
on to his
similar
third
age to
hair
what
transplant
Brown,
by then.
the similar age to what Brown was at the last World Cup. Okay, do you want to move on to
The big story that came
well,
out
the
yesterday.
biggest story that's come out apart from those two stories, but it came out a bit late to get much listener feedback on, but I'm sure everyone is excited about it.
Yeah, so former SLP quiz question answer Josh Charnley has returned to the Rugby League to sign for Warrington Wolves after almost 18 months with Rugby Union side at the Sale Sharks. Former Wigan winger Charnley, 26, has agreed a deal with Warrington until the end of the 2020 season and will link up with the Super League club immediately. He switched codes to join Sale in October 2016, shortly after scoring the winning try for Wigan in their Super League grand final win over the Wolves. Charnley played 32 times for Sale. That's not a bad number of appearances, to be fair.
Yeah, what that doesn't cover off is that he only scored a handful of tries in those 32 games, whereas Denny Solomona, who was signed at the same time, has played a similar amount of games and scored about 20 odd tries for Sale. So obviously, the Josh Charnley that left rugby league as a try scorer in a grand final and pretty close to a try a game career in rugby league was not doing the same sort of things in the last 18 months or so in rugby union.
Yeah. What do you feel cheated on with this one because he's not come back to Wigan?
Well, it is always awkward when a Wigan player returns to Super League and doesn't come back to Wigan because every other player that's left Super League has come back to Wigan. But I think it's a sensible decision from a Wigan's perspective. I think Josh Charnley is a fantastic winger if he can get his Super League, Rugby League form back. I don't think Rugby Union was ever really the game for him. I don't think he's got the kind of kicking game to play in the backs in rugby union that you might need sometimes to give yourself the edge if you're not familiar with getting involved. And I also don't feel like it was really suited to what he did best because there's less space
Yeah.
for someone who's fast, so he's had to bulk up and maybe slow down, and that's not
And
ideal.
the technicality as well, which you do even as a winger, you need the various laws around the breakdown. And I wonder if he got frustrated around learning that at a much later age, because it would be something that you wouldn't be familiar with and would take a lot of. And again, as similar points I was making earlier, he was having to do that learning at the elite professional level rather than a level below, which people coming up his competition effectively would be learning at.
And he was in a side competing with international standard wingers
Yeah.
for selection. So it wasn't gonna. Sale wasn't going to be a happy place for him to stay. I don't feel like with the kind of game time he was getting. So it's great that he's back in rugby league. I just from the return to Wigan perspective, Wigan have got four wingers that I think when all fully fit are equally as good quality as Josh Charnley when fully fit. So I think you wouldn't be able to fit him into that mix unless you wanted to make him go back to his early days of being a centre, which I don't think is kind of right. Whereas Warrington have a need because Matty Russell hasn't really fit in well with Price, and also that's their depth. I mean, Mitch Brown, yeah, you can put him at wing, but he's not exciting anyone, even if he's a really good, honest, hard-working player who doesn't let you down. He's also not exciting anyone. He's not beating teams for you. Whereas Josh Charnley can win games in a moment. We've seen him do that. Warrington put up a highlight reel when they were sort of announcing the signing through social media, and I think the first try on that was him tearing a new one to Warrington at Warrington in the Challenge Cup quarter-final in 2011. Now, 7 years ago, wow. And he was a teenage sensation back then, but it just showed exactly what he can do.
Yeah. Overall for the game, it's good to have someone come back in, especially at that level, and we know what he can do. I did find it funny the way his name was spelt or spaced out on the back of the shirt. I thought that was very odd, the way they sort of got the presses up. It's almost like Charnley.
Maybe they're trying to get a new chant because they
Yeah.
used to give him quite a lot of stick at Warrington, did the Warrington fans. So they're going to have to invent a chant for him that isn't a negative one. I think, but yeah, he's welcome back in rugby league as far as I'm concerned, even if he did block me on Twitter for criticising his grammar.
Is
Okay.
he going to be like the next Lee Smith though, and bounce back and forth between league and union until he ends up just being a permanent state of flux somewhere between the two?
I doubt it. I think he's back now for good. I would suggest. Moving on then to sort of the lower profile news, I suppose, from the last week, but by no means insignificant. 26-year-old Hull FC centre Carlos Tumavave has signed a new 2-year contract extension with the Black and Whites. Also, prop Massi Matongo, 21, who's in that night squad, has also signed a new 3-year deal after making his first Super League start last week. And then just before recording, there was another new re-signing in the forward pack for Hull FC. Forward Brad Fash, who's 22 and featured in all 6 games so far this season. He's signed a new 3-year contract, which will keep him with the side until 2021.
That's excellent news. I think Fash is one that would be very key to tie down because he has been looking. I mean, he's looked like he's going to be the player to break through for a couple of years. And I think this could be now his year where he does come in and makes himself more of a regular feature. Because I think it was it even 2015 he made his debut?
Yeah, it was
because they had a game where they
Super
played
8.
5 of them, didn't they?
Yeah, it was the first year of the Super 8s in 2015 when they basically were guaranteed 8th and could not make 4th because they were in the Super 8. They were guaranteed 8th. So they basically didn't try to rush anyone back from injury that was getting injured at that stage. So there was a particular game against Castleford where they played a lot of young players in that game back in that year, and yeah, a few came through. Then Massi Matongo made his debut in 2015 as well, but didn't play again until last year. But yeah, both of those two signing long-term deals is good for the solidification of the future of that pack, and it hopefully means that they're not going to go and sign an overseas player to plug a gap or a older player to plug a gap, and they might actually get these kids coming through, which is a positive, I think, from a Hull FC standpoint.
Yeah, someone you can build around as much as anything. If you've got someone there who's a steady away going to effectively take up one of your slots, that then gives you the time that you can invest in him, then bring in the next person on. So that's going to be really for them.
Definitely. Okay. St. Helens.
You'll go.
Yeah, I'll go. St. Helens prop forward Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook has signed a new 1-year contract extension with the Super League club. McCarthy-Scarsbrook, who's 32, joined Saints from Broncos in 2011, has gone over to make over 200 appearances in the Dirty Red V.
So he's the other way around. I would have said he was much younger. I would have said he was like late. He's 28.
But then how many years ago was it that he scored that try for London when they were Harlequins at Warrington, where he ran about 90 metres?
Yeah,
everyone was talking about him being amazing, and then
I remember watching some of his early games at London, and when he was sort of still not really, he was sort of a bit like a gazelle, sort of prancing around, but didn't quite know where he was a lot of the time. But he's really come on, and he's one of my favourite players, more so from the personality point of view rather than his actual playing ability. Yeah, he's a very good player, but from all the little things you think, and his column in 4020 is always very amusing. So he's someone I do quite love, and I think it's good that he's sticking around for a bit more.
Given he plays for my side's rivals, I would say that his personality and character winds me up rather than pushes me on, but I do enjoy his 40-20 column too. Another St. Helens prop forward story, and this one's quite serious really. Alex Walmsley faces a lengthy spell on the sidelines after fracturing a bone in his neck during their win against Warrington Wolves. The 27-year-old came off in the second half of their 30-12 victory on the 9th of March. The England international has had an operation to correct the damage, but is expected to make a full recovery, which is the positive news, but very serious injury.
Yeah, and it's something that you have to be very careful with, because that's the sort of thing that we've seen many players retire through, so you have to be very careful with that. That can have long-lasting consequences long after he's finished rugby, so let's hope he gets well soon.
Yeah, there's certainly key that he gets the right sort of medical attention, and no one rushes anything back from Alex Walmsley's point of view, because he's an absolutely fantastic and exciting player, but we don't want to put getting him back on the field ahead of his well-being for the rest of his life. So I hope that, we're in a much better position these days in terms of treating injuries like this than in the past. It's one to get it's one for the tackling technique, because it was a head in the wrong position essentially that got this one, and it looked weird at the time, and we talked about